Welcome back, everybody. It's 9:33 p.m. on June 9th, 2023. So I thought this was the Mummy movie, the first one, but this isn't. This is the Scorpion King with the bracelet, with the kids got the bracelet. But the first one was when I was talking about the four sacred vials, right? And I was showing you on when I was talking about these videos where it's showing from Rome and coming over here, dropping the book, and then you've got like that umbrella, and then it turns into like a diamond. And remember, it's purple rain, the purple diamond. So this is pretty cool. But what I'm going to show you. So Daniel chapter 5. Let me just read it here. Okay. Belshazzar chapter 5. Belshazzar's feast. The king made a great feast for 1,000 of his lords and drank wine in the presence of the 1,000. While he tasted the wine, Belshazzar gave the command to bring the gold and silver vessels, which is Father Nebuchadnezzar had taken from the temple which had been in Jerusalem. Now, Jerusalem, think about the four sacred vials. Remember, I was showing you. So Horus has four sons. He's got a falcon, which holds, I do believe, our liver. The baboon holds our intestines. And then you got the jackal, which is the dog, the five senses. And then you got man, which is the intuition, the native, or Inuit, the native Indian, or that type of symbolism. So the four sacred vials, so they're gold and silver. So in the mummy, the first mummy, the guys go and they raid this box, and it has the four sacred vials in it. And, you know, they're partying with them and everything, but they're not drinking out of them, but they're drinking around him. And so the mummy comes back and he's taking, you know, he sucks the life out of them, right? And they just wither into dust. So it's pretty interesting how these movies are trying to show us. And then Jerusalem is recognized as our, like Earth, it's our, from our neck down to our waistline of our body. It's our, like our torso and our chest. You can say from our heart chakra, from our heart chakra down to our root chakra, that area. Because that's where our intestines and that's where our liver's at. Okay, let's see here. In our heart, okay. Okay, so they're drinking. The king of his and his lords, his wives and his concubines drink from them. They drink wine and praise the gods of gold and silver, bronze and iron, wood and stone. In the same hour, the fingers of a man had appeared and wrote opposite of the lampstand on the plaster of the wall. Now, lampstand, right? So Mary Poppins pulls out this lampstand. The lampstand is, you know, what is right in the middle of us. Kind of interesting, because that's the arm of God and the hand of God's right there. So on the plaster of the wall of the king's palace, and the king saw the part of the hand that wrote. Then the king's countenance changed. It must have been his appearance, and his thoughts troubled him, so that the joints of his hips were loosened and his knees knocked against each other. The king cried aloud to bring the astrologers and the chandeliers and the soothsayers. The king spoke, saying to the wise men of Babylon, "Whoever reads this writing and tells me what its interpretation shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around his neck, and shall be the third ruler of the kingdom." Now all the king's wise men came, but they could not read the writing or make known of the king's interpretations. Then the king Belshazzar, Belshazzar was greatly troubled. His countenance was changed, and his lords were astonished. So that means his whole look is, you know, probably looked drained. Okay, the queen, because of the words of the king and his lords, came to the banquet hall. The queen spoke, saying, "O king, live forever. Do not let your thoughts trouble you, nor let your countenance change." Your appearance, probably. This is a man. There is a man in your kingdom in whom is the spirit of the holy God, and in the days of your father, light and understanding and wisdom, like the wisdom of the gods, were found in him. And the king Nebuchadnezzar, your father the king, made him chief of the magicians, astrologers, chandelians, and soothsayers, inasmuch as an excellent spirit, knowledge, understanding, interpreting dreams, solving riddles, and explaining enigmas were found in this Daniel, whom the king named Belshazzar. Now think about the Orion's belt. Interesting, right? Belshazzar. Now let Daniel be called, and he will be given the interpretation. So the writing on the wall explained. 13. Then Daniel was brought in before the king. The king spoke and said to Daniel, "Are you that Daniel who is one of the captives from Judah?" Okay, Judah. Remember, King David is Judaism. Daniel is King David's second son by his second wife, Abigail. Interesting. Whom my father the king brought from Judah. I have I have heard of you that the Spirit of God is in you, and that light and understanding and excellent wisdom are found in you. Now the wise men, the astrologers, have been brought in before me, that they should read this writing and make known to me its interpretations, but they could not give the interpretations of the thing. And I have heard of you that you can give interpretations and explain enigmas. Now, if you can read the writing and make known to me its interpretation, you shall be clothed with purple and have a chain of gold around your neck, and shall be the third ruler of the kingdom. Then Daniel answered and said before the king, "Let your gifts be for yourself, and give your rewards to another. Yet I will read the writing to the king and make known to him the interpretation." O king. So you see a big O right there. O king. The O is representing, from my perspective, our mind's eye, the Omega King. The Most High God gave I can never say this name right, Nebuchadnezzar, your father, a kingdom and majesty, glory and honor. And because of the majesty that he gave him, all peoples, nations, languages trembled and feared before him. Whomever he wished, he executed. Whomever he wished, he kept alive. Whomever he wished, he set up. And whomever he wished, he put down. But when his heart was lifted up and his spirit was hardened in pride, he was disposed from his kingly throne. They took his glory from him. Then he was driven from the sons of men. His heart was made like the beast, and his dwelling was like the wild donkeys. They fed him with grass like oxen, and his body was wet with the dew of the heaven, till he knew what the Most High God rules in the kingdom of men and appoints over it whomever he chooses. Okay, but you, his son, Belshazzar, have not humbled in your heart, although you knew all this, and you have lifted yourself up against the Lord of heaven. They have brought the vessels of his house before you, and you and your lords, your wives and your concubines have drunk wine from them, and you have praised the gods of silver and gold, bronze, iron, wood, and stone, which you do not see or hear or know. And God, who holds your breath in his hand and owns all your ways, you have not glorified. Then the fingers of the hand were sent from him, and the writing was written. And this is an inscription that was written. So, Mene, Mene, Tekel, Upharsin. Okay? This is an interpretation of each word. Mene is God has numbered your kingdom and has finished it. So it's kind of like, if we look at our world, right? God has numbered the kingdom and finished it. is what he's doing right now. Tekel. So he says that tribe, God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. God has numbered your kingdom and finished it. Then you have been weighed in balances and found wanting. And then Purs, I think, is representing as the parson or pars. Your kingdom has been divided and given to the Medes and the Persians. Then Belshazzar, excuse me, I'm reading and talking a lot, gave the command, and they clothed Daniel with purple, remember purple rain, and put a chain of gold around his neck and made a proclamation concerning him that he should be the third ruler in the kingdom. And then that very night, Belshazzar, king of the Chaldeans, was slain, and Darius the Mede received the kingdom, being about 62 years of old. Now, isn't that quite interesting? When we look at our world today, right, and we look at even when there's the story that Daniel does about them worshiping, the idols, or being in that fireplace, the fire pit, right? And the princes, the four, because Daniel becomes the third ruler of the kingdom, and then it shows Darius the Mede takes over. So I wonder, because remember Belshazzar, he ends up being slain, but Daniel's name is Belshazzar. So I wonder if at the end of this, if it's telling us that, so Belshazzar give the command to pass it over to Daniel. So it's like Belshazzar is passing it over to Daniel, which is called Belteshazzar. And so interesting, right? And then after he gets past that, I wonder if Daniel becomes Darius the Mede, because Aries is like the ram, and it represents, I do believe, air, and the D is like the triangle, the doorway. And Mede, I think Mede is representing mountain, maybe education, electric, because that's pretty much what Daniel is, because he has the knowledge to be able to figure out riddles, and that imparted the spirit. So this is just wild stuff. Let's see. Yeah, I wanted to share that, and share that the movie of the Mummy, and then bring this part right here of the symbolism that was happening 2 weeks ago, right? And so it's like when I was saying that on the images on my body and stuff that are coming out, the inner earth kind of like thing, it's like on the spiritual level, it's actually coming through faster on a physical level. It's actually coming through our bodies. It's appearing out in our atmosphere. Things are happening around us, in our environment, and within us. A lot of people can't see it, but if they really look at everything that's happening, and look at the signs, and look what Scripture is saying, but see, this is where I would say Daniel plays a vital part coming back, because he's the planet X, he's the Nibiru, he's the red dragon that comes in, the second son, because he's the second son of King David. And so he comes back in, and so he locks the system, so we have two sons. So no one can get out, no one can come in. So now we have, which is quite interesting. So we have Soul, Lord Jesus, his son, his light, and then Daniel. Daniel is, so like say this is our solar plexus. So say soul is right here. This is what the yellow or sacred golden sun and the root chakra. Okay, so, and then you got Daniel, which Daniel is represented as right here, the second son. So it's kind of like a binary son. Um, and when we think of son, it's King David's son. But when we look in ourselves, is the sun is representing our soul, the light of our soul. It's very interesting. So then that's like when they say Rudolph the Red-Nosed Reindeer, because it's like the red light, it turns to it. So he becomes the third ruler of the kingdom, right? This is where the third eye is. This is where like King Solomon. And remember soul, the name of the sun, O, probably representing Daniel, and then Mon is man, but it's also moon. So that's a locked system. So it's like two fish. So let's show, like, try to get two fish working towards the same goal. You don't have one going up and one going the opposite direction. They're two fish that are actually working together. And then you got the moon, which is like the mother's egg or the dragon egg, for down here on the land. It's like and controls the water, the birthing and everything. So it's really quite interesting because you got the male and you got the mother, and then you got soul representing the yellow, the ultraviolet, right? And then you got the red dragon coming in representing the red and the rust color, So it's like picture these as like the rainbow of dragons. So you even got a rainbow bridge going on here as well. Interesting stuff, right? And then right here, where I was telling you about how they do the Freemason thing. So this is like a compass. So picture this is your mind's eye, or Daniel up in the lion's den. This is your right eye. This is your left eye. So you use this triangle, you use it as one eye. So when you're looking with your two eyes, visualize visualize your mind's eye is actually looking as well, even though you may not sense it at first or feel it. Some of you may, but you got to practice. Practice makes perfect. But use them as one eye. It's like having an extra lens, right? Like the Monopoly guy, right? He's got that monocle lens or glass that he puts over his eye. It's like saying bringing down that eye and using it as one. Then you got the L square. The L square is actually, the measuring. Remember, it's like geometry and graphing out the land and graphing out your body. Okay, I'll leave it at that. But again, the 144,000. I think that when I said that it's not 144,000, I'm sticking with what I said about that because the scripture says 140 and 4,000. So that's if we and means either add or multiply. So if you add it 140 to 4,000, it's 4140. Okay. Which is quite interesting because it's like Jack. You got the 4 represents a triangle. It's a triangle symbol. You got the 1 represents A, so it's like the nose. And then you got the 4 for the other eye, and then you got the O for the mind's eye. So it's like a face, drawing out a face. If you multiply 140 times 4,000, it comes to 560,000, and which is quite interesting as well, because if you put it in words, the 5th letter is E, 6th letter Z, so it's like EZ, soul, then Dan, and then Dan has an extra lens, so it's like there's 1, 2, 3, 4, because you got the moon as well. I know that's probably kind of deep for everybody. But the 144,000 is representing the Y. So my father's Y, 72 chromosomes of my father's right side, and my mother's X chromosome, the negative X, the female gene. So I'm bi, is 72,000. You add them both together, you have 144,000. Rock on. So I don't want to say there's not 144,000. I just think that when they rewrite the script, they're misleading the people. Okay, but maybe that's what it's. I don't know. Maybe it was designed that way. Who knows? Um, oh, and then as the mummy returns, which is quite interesting because the last movie is. I'm talking a lot. The Mummy, the Tomb of the Dragon Emperor. So you even got the dragon right there. And if you've seen that one, oh, there's the original one. I should have put that one in. That's a trilogy. So anyway, about the end time, about the dragon, and this emperor actually makes it into the pool. What do you call that? The infinity pool, and he turns into this dragon. But see, he went in because he was negative and he wanted to conquer everything, just like in Daniel, right? So God got rid of him out of the kingdom, but he made it to the infinity pool. But he eventually gets slain. But anyway, I think it's those next steps, but it's kind of hard to say because Hollywood does this, and they portray a lot of the good as bad. I'm thinking that they twisted it to the opposite way. Because I see that in a lot of these Marvel comics. They make these things that come in to do things or for destruction, and then they try to show that these little superhero people are, taking down these gigantic creatures or whatever that have way more power and more advanced. I mean, somehow man's so much more advanced than anything. So this is what I'm saying, what they mislead. Well, we can obviously see it in the Disney movies and what's happening at Disney and that part of that world. But again, that's my perspective. But again, I think it's just worth talking about. How long have I been talking? Oh, good. Only 22 minutes. Boy, that's probably why my throat feels a little dry because I've been talking so much. So Bel is the word Bel means protect the king. Okay. And that's in Hebrew, was the son and crown prince of Na. Na is number 11, representing sodium on a periodic table. Bonidus, Ni is nickel. Sodium, body, nickel, door, and then that would be maybe that's ultra sum. But remember, I was telling you, and then you got the king of Neo-Babylonian empire. So it's like it's like this empire of America. Remember, I was showing you in that image where this big book drops on America, and then Trump goes, the seal has been broken, but people are talking about his, criminal record probably. Anyway, so I just wanted to put that out. Remember, the Matrix, the guy's name was Neo. And remember in the Matrix, the first Matrix, the Oracle, she was an African-American woman. And remember on iPad Go 2, you have the woman at the classroom, which I was like thinking about that too, of Sherlock Holmes. Pull it up. So we'll go back to the classroom. Maybe we're going too fast for it. So right there, and she's in purple. It's very interesting, the Three of Hearts. So it's like the Oracle was in the room. And it's quite interesting when you see her face when she's looking at him like, what the? Interesting stuff. Okay, have a great day. I just wanted to share a little bit of Daniel, and because no one talks about Daniel during the end times, but they'll talk a lot about Revelation, um, and then they'll have these lions, these pictures of lions behind him and everything. But it's all about the lion of Daniel returning, because remember, Daniel's the one is in the lion's den. Um, and Daniel's known as the sharp one, the lion. Lion, and if you look at lion, the word lion, it's Li for linguistic, and then O representing the mind's eye, and N for new. But I know I might be talking a little fast for everybody, because everybody looks at scripture, you know, at the words, but they don't look at like the presence of the thousand. And that's interesting too, because it could actually be 1,000. Oh, in the presence of the thousand. That's what it is, drank wine. So it's like interesting when they think of wine. It's like, the red wine. It's like possibly the blood. Very interesting, because I was telling you about, you got the dark in this world. And when I say dark, it's not always the skin color dark. It's just people, any culture or whatever, doing these rituals. And even when I was telling you about the churches themselves, when they go and they break bread and they go get these bread wafers from man, they don't get it from God, they're getting it from man. And they're drinking like cranberry juice or grape juice or whatever, but they're drinking the blood of Christ, but they're doing it the same symbolism as the dark are doing it, but they're actually doing it for real. But still, it always grossed me out of doing it. And until I stopped doing it, I'm just like, no, there's got to be something deeper. It's got to be something within inside of us. Why would we be doing something and giving, I don't know. It was just something that it's just not right of thinking. Was going through my mind, and that was part of waking me up too. And that's why I started looking inside my body as well. It's just like, oh, the bread is like the polywana cracker is the non unleavened bread. The cracker is, when you start looking at bread, BREAD, book read, cracker, or poly. So poly, the poly is the kappa and the lambda of polypeptides to our DNA. So polywana cracker, so it's like beating our DNA. So I guess I hope I didn't lose everybody on that. Polywana cracker.